Insights of All Trades podcast. The main story I'm sure we'll be unpacking today is that Jacob just got done hiking the whole Appalachian Trail as a through hike, which is quite a crazy feat. And it's so much to unpack that I don't know where to start except for saying, go ahead and walk us through like from conception, and we'll just start dissecting it as we go along.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of my life, led into hiking the trail, from just like, even like where I grew up, behind my house is a floodplain, so you can't build any houses there. So I was playing around in the creek in the woods my whole life, and my dad would take me on backpacking trips, which I actually hated a lot because like.
How young were you when you started?
The first like overnight trip, I was like 7, and we just hiked like a mile, camped, and then like hiked around, and like I had a blast, like because I wasn't wearing a pack at that point, so I would like run through the water, and like I got ticks, and it was a whole adventure. I loved it. And then like the next couple trips, I'd actually carry my pack, and that sucked because I was so skinny as a kid that like the hip belt wouldn't work. So like I'm just all the weights on my shoulders. My dad wouldn't like tell me how far we had to go. So it was like really hard while I was hiking. But then when we would get to camp, like it was the best. Like I just loved like climbing on rocks and playing in streams and stuff.
Dang. So is your dad like a pretty accomplished hiker then?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I wouldn't. He's not done like the AT or anything. But we've done a lot of hiking together. He leads like a men's group from church every year on like it's called Discipleship on the Trail. So he leads that. He really likes being outdoors. We hunt together, and he knows more about trees than anyone I know. So definitely been that's like a big part of me, liking the outdoors. And then to hike the Appalachian Trail, you need to know how to suffer. So wrestling was really good for that. That's how I met Hershey, and consequently Cole was through wrestling.
So when did you start wrestling?
I think I was 7 too. So I started.
Dang, yeah, it's a whole lot of suffering from 7 the whole way up until college wrestling.
Yeah. It was like, it's funny, like I think the first like 3 years of wrestling, I didn't even win a match, and I just got beat on by everyone.
I've been there.
But just like when you finally do win that first match, and then you start beating kids that you thought were like so much better than you, and you get bigger and stronger and stuff. Wrestling's a really cool sport, and it leads to a lot of suffering, especially if you want to cut weight. And
no doubt, yeah. If you want to cut weight, especially unintelligently, there's a wealth of suffering for your taking.
Yeah, I mean, like I was like not eating for like 3 days in a row, not drinking water, all this sauna suits, all that stupid stuff.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, actually, I was not, fortunately, I didn't have a coach that made us cut weight, but I was wrestling maybe 4 days a week in the off season. I was pretty lean, working out every other day in the gym, and I was walking around maybe like 150 pounds, and I had cut weight to get certed at 120, and it was brutal. A lot of secret sauna suit running.
Yeah, that's not allowed by the PIAA.
Yeah, sorry, PIAA. I broke the rules. Revoke all my wins.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, but besides that, I hope I don't want to just bash the whole sport of wrestling. I'm sure you probably feel the same way. The person I am today, in terms of the work ethic I cultivated, I attribute very, like, if not entirely, to the sport of wrestling.
Absolutely. I don't think it was funny. I was just working last or 2 weekends ago. I'm trying to do some odd jobs before I settle down on a career, but I worked at a music festival in Scranton I was making rice and fried chicken and stuff for the Chinese food stand, and I was working with the other guy, and like 2 days in, like I mentioned that like I wrestled, and he's like, "Oh, that explains a lot." He's like, "It explains your work ethic," because he had wrestled in high school too, and like we were just sweating, like it was 95 degrees, and we're on the grill, and like it was crazy. But yeah, like it gives you so much. I mean, it takes you into really, really not dark, but like really hard places to be in, and you have to suffer through them to achieve what you want to achieve.
Through them.
Yeah, and like I mean, I think a wrestling season is still harder than like hiking the Appalachian Trail.
I 100% agree. Something I talk about a lot as soon as I start talking about running is that I 100% believe that the full marathon that I have ran, which was just a single one, was less physically taxing and less mentally taxing than going through a wrestling season, even a high school wrestling season.
Obviously,
if you're a dedicated wrestler that has been training year round and are trying to obsess over peaking at the right time, everything that falls
and if you're in Pennsylvania, obviously,
of course, no offense to the New Jersey and California wrestlers out there, but I mean 100% PA's might be the hardest wrestling state.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
Either way.
But so like, when I was, out on the trail, it's like a hard day. It's like there's never like you just have to haul yourself up the mountain. Like in wrestling, you have to make someone do what they don't want to do against their will, and they're as strong as you, they're as big as you, and you're just literally wrestling them. Like it's crazy.
And what's just as hard, in my opinion, maybe even more harder than that, is when you don't want to get a workout in, you're all alone, and maybe you aren't even cutting weight. Maybe it's the off season and you told yourself, I'm going to shadow drill X amount of days a week. And no one's watching. Like, I feel like that's the work ethic that sets wrestlers apart, because it's so, like, that's the core of wrestling in Pennsylvania, at least.
It's so hard to like drag yourself out of bed to like get down to the gym.